Greetings! In this video you'll learn how to make this, and probably even this. I decided to cover several related subjects, but originally I planned this video as a third one in the Souls-like camera series. So the first example we will explore will be this glowing guy, the target marker on our enemy. Generally, there are two approaches to have something appear on the screen. The first one is to have a 3D object rendered inside the world, and the second one is to have a 2D piece of information overlaid on top of your viewport. Each of the ways has its pros and cons, and you need to think about desired results before applying a solution. Let's look at the task. We need to copy the behavior of Dark Souls 3 target marker. When observing the source, we see that the marker appears to be always on top and has the static size except the creation animation. These two facts lead us to the 2D approach, because the things that are being contained in 3D are more prone to have a dynamic size and to be overlapped by other objects. Now, when we decided we want a 2D mark, we need to get somewhere an actual glowing picture. You can steal it right out of the game, but this is cringe and the process of creating one is like 3 minutes. I will use Photoshop, but this is a Godot tutorial and not the Photoshop one. If you really want to know how, I will leave the glowing item tutorial in the description. Add your 2D icon to the scene as a 2D sprite and place it wherever you want. Call it something like target marker and create a variable pointing to it in the locked state. When we transfer to the locked state, we show the marker, and when we go to the free camera state, we hide it. We can do it in the transfer functions, and for this case, it's actually easier to do. But let's SRP this code to its limits and create a script for the marker. It has an update cycle that works if the marker is visible, and in the update cycle we move the marker to the position on the screen where the target's chest is, with the help of the built-in camera 3D function called unproject position. The way we know the exact position in the world where the marker is needed is the bone attachment. Navigate to your enemy's skeleton and select a bone. Create a child for it with type of bone attachment 3D. This is a node 3D that follows the bone transformations, but it's not the bone itself, just a logical point. It is snapped to the bone transformation, so to create an offset from it, we need to create another casual node 3D and put it where we want relatively to the bone attachment. These bros are useful if you want to pin something to a dynamic figure, for example a weapon to the hand of the player. You can test the build and adjust the marker size as you see fit. Now, a couple of words about writing a nice scalable code. You need to have a node in your camera to be tied somehow to the node in the different scene. To do this, you can choose different strengths of hardcoding, and I want you to actually think of your project. You can skip the aspect altogether and just write the direct call to your bone in the text script, as Godot doesn't have access modifiers. But firstly, 5 dots is cringe. And secondly, if you want to scale this marker behavior to several enemies with different skeletons, you will face troubles. What I chose to do is to not make the aspect local, but to create a link to its marker node. Then in the enemy's code, in the ready function, I set the aspect marker to align with skeleton marker. This gives me a nice way to use aspects marker in the camera script without any knowledge about the enemy node design. The overlaying tag is used everywhere in gaming. For example, you can create a bouncing damage numbers with it. Only thing you need to do is to set up a scene that creates and manages labels or rich text labels. Implementation is up to you. I see two possible pathways. The first one is a node per text instance. On init it takes two parameters, initial on-screen position and damage number, and then manages itself in the process function. The other way is to have a wall damage number manager, which constructs and customizes many text numbers at once. For sexy movement trajectories, see the classical physics problem of motion of a body thrown at an angle to the horizon. Let's move from overlaying 2D objects to the next contender, the nickname. And by the nickname I mean a 2D textual information on top of a head of some entity in 3D world. The name is the part of an entity, so it's logical to contain it in the form of a child node in the entity itself. As always, doing it is as easy as adding a text to a scene. But let's be a better human today. Instead, create a labeled aspect. All it does for now is it contains a name for an entity. Add the text there and set it to billboard mode. This is the setting that makes the text always look at the player. You can drag and drop this aspect scene wherever you want, and further customization of the text can be achieved with making it local. To make the name tag disappear with distance, use built-in setting of fade distance. As you can see, the text appears as 2D, but behaves as a 3D object and can be obscured by other objects. We discussed a 2D object, 2D text and 3D text that are sharing the traits of overlay. There is a fourth member of this diagram, and that is a 3D object that is for some reason appears always on top. This theme is too big for this video, but this is the method for creating different magical vision ways like through wall vision in the Dishonored series or in the Apex Legends game. Usually, these 3D objects have a set of materials they switch between, one default world material and one for no depth testing rendering. If you want to explore this topic in Godot, be aware of its strange behavior around shaders compiling. If you'll try to switch material of the object on the run, it will lag spike your game. To fix this, learn the shaders precompiling topic in Godot first. I will leave a link to the good video in the description. And you know, you can always write in the comments if you want a through wall vision video.